700 Indian students in Sumy have now been moved out of the city through a humanitarian corridor. They were first taken to Poltava, which is around 175 kilometers from Sumy. From here, they are traveling to Lviv in western Ukraine on trains that have been arranged with the help of Ukrainian authorities. The students will then cross the border to Poland in the coming days, and from there, they will then be brought back to India on evacuation flights. India has been evacuating its nationals from the conflict-stricken country through its evacuation mission titled Operation Ganga. Government officials are involved in bringing back students from Poland, Romania, Hungary, Slovakia and Moldova. The evacuation of students from Sumy comes after repeated calls for a humanitarian corridor, and this after India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi held back-to-back conversations with both Russian President Vladimir Putin as well as Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky. Nearly 8,000 Indian students have been evacuated from neighbouring Romania. With the last special flight set to depart from Bucharest today, a new advisory also asked Indian nationals to make use of these humanitarian corridors and evacuate as soon as possible from the war-ravaged cities, using the available means of transport at their disposal. For more on-ground reports, our correspondent Anas Malik is now joining us live from the Ukrainian capital of Kiev. Anas, thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit about where you are currently and the kind of facility that has been set up to aid evacuations and provide shelter to those fleeing.
Well, Priyanka, I'm currently at a location in Kiev where hundreds of city volunteers have stepped up and in order to provide medication and relief to the citizens of Kiev. I'll just speak to a volunteer and one of the organizers as well. Your name and where are you from?
Hello, my name is Eli Buznov and I'm from Kiev, and originally I was born in Kharkov.
Right, so you were born in Kharkiv. Why are you guys here? What are you doing over here?
So we figure out that we need to do something for our country because we want to help it, and the only way that we have right now is to volunteer.
Right, so what exactly are you doing over here as a volunteer? What is this facility about?
So here we have our warehouse and we managing three ways. One is medicine, second is food, and third one is clothes. So basically we given all the medicine to hospitals, maternity hospitals, military hospitals all around the front line and in Kiev, and we given out food and clothes to the civilians.
And what are the challenges that you are facing with regards to supplies? Where are the supplies coming in from?
So the main challenges right now is growing of quantity of requests, and we doing good with that because we have more and more volunteers every day who's trying to help us. Main challenge that I can say is the front line, who is like growing and coming closer to Kiev, and the second one is a curfew that is going on in Kiev.
Right. Thank you so much, Ilya. Priyanka, you heard him there. Ilya, a volunteer who's originally from Kharkiv. He's volunteering here. They're saying that they are coming up with medication for hospital supplies for military hospitals. And I'll just walk you through the facility over here that has been established. There are medications that are being packed over here. This is more of a warehouse, and there are separate drips that are around for different hospitals. Then you've got some injections, some masks, and then the essential supplies. So everything that is there is being managed by volunteers over here to facilitate the citizens and to facilitate their military who are currently on the front lines. Priyanka?
Absolutely, Anas. As we just heard and analysed from your discussion right now from a volunteer, that there are still struggles when it comes to procuring supplies, especially because there is a curfew in Kiev, in the Ukrainian capital. Now, we're also hearing that the Ukrainian military has agreed to a 12-hour ceasefire with Russia to allow civilians to escape. How are the evacuations proceeding? As you've been telling us, there are several of these facilities that have been set up in makeshift centres or warehouses.
Well, there are several makeshift centers and facilities that have been set up, and with this ceasefire coming into place, we're seeing the evacuation operations have taken an uptick. The number of people trying to leave from Kiev to elsewhere to safety has increased. In fact, the local railways, they have waived off any passenger fees for those who are trying to leave Kiev towards safer areas. So in case if you get to the train station, you will not be asked for any money or any ticket to get onto that very train. That's how dire the situation is. If I talk to you about the city, there are increased checkpoints, increased concrete blocks, and I was in Irpin just a while back, and we saw that more and more people were making use of this opportunity to leave from the panic-stricken or conflict-stricken areas towards safety and onwards towards the western side of the country. Priyanka?
Absolutely, Anas. Just to follow up to that, from what we are seeing as sitting here is one of the gravest refugee crises that is emerging as a fallout of this conflict. We're getting reports of Ukrainian refugees now fleeing to Eastern Europe, Central Europe, while those host countries are now scrambling to accommodate them. Tell us more about that.
Well, you're absolutely right. There are more than 2 million refugees now that are estimated in the past 14 days who have left the country. That's about 5% of the population. Ukraine has about 44 million people living in, as per their census of 2020. And more and more people are trying to escape for one reason. They do not believe that any part of the country is safe, especially after the recent attack in the western side. That was about 3 days back at an airport from the Russian military. That's what has got this fear in them, or instigated that even the western part of the country is not safe, and the reason people are preferring to move from here to leave their country and to go elsewhere in the European within the European nations. That includes the borderline states of Poland, Romania, Slovakia, and other countries as well that border with Poland. Now, this sort of a refugee crisis has never been experienced by Europe since the World War II. This is an entirely different, they're seeing this at an entirely different spectrum, and the way people have been responding, that's exemplary as well, because as I said, they're not equipped to handling this big of a crisis. This is the first of its kind, and at least the bordering countries have been responsive to this call, to this desperate call by the Ukrainian people. Priyanka?
Anas Malik, thank you so much for all those first-hand accounts from the Ukrainian capital, Kiev. Thanks for joining us on WION. WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.